Hi, it's Larry here, Xbox Live's Major Nelson. Welcome to the X019 stage. I am thrilled that you've joined us. If you're just tuning in, you have a great 30 to 45 minutes ahead of you. I'm here with the gang from Sea of Thieves. Let's give it up for these guys. All right, joining us today, we've got Mike Chapman, Senior Design Director. We've got Drew Stevens, Senior Producer, John McFarlane, Head of Creator Engagement, and Dan Hamill, you probably know him as Green Skull, around the world content creator. Dan, great, thanks for joining us. Guys, I got to tell you, it's so exciting to have you here on the stage. First of all, we're right down the street from your studio, right, Mike?
Yeah. We're, like I said, hour on the train for us, so it's not far at all.
Yeah,
nice to come down here and be a great show last night. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's talk about what you showed last night for Sea of Thieves. You got a couple announcements last night.
Yeah, so it's been a busy couple of days. So the day before XO, 2 days ago, we announced the Omen ship livery.
Yep.
So if you play Sea of Thieves now, between now and Friday the 22nd of November, you get access to the Omen ship set, which is us working with the coalition to bring that kind of Gears of War symbology to Sea of Thieves, and going around in the world having adventures with this awesome looking new ship set. So that's the figurehead, the sails, the hull, and the flag.
Yep.
And then last night we announced the Seabound Soul, which is a new content update for Sea of Thieves coming on November 20th. So a new tall tale, a new tool in the form of fire, and last but not least, the announcement of our new IP, Everwild.
Yeah, we'll talk about all of this a little bit later, but I want to get started. That's right. Before we get started, I want to point out that today is the 18th anniversary of the original Xbox.
Wow.
So I mean, it's legal now. But it's also after with Xbox, Rare was one of the very first studios that Microsoft purchased, right? And I know none of you guys were there at that point, and I think, Dan, you were about 4 years old, right? But it's certainly, you've had quite a journey along the way with all the titles. Tell me about some of the titles you've worked on, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to like the Xbox stuff, I was that console was such a huge moment for me. I'm a massive Halo fan, playing the first Halo, and then growing up playing Rare games, to see kind of this storied developer be part of that Xbox family. It's just a great part of history. And like some of the games I've worked on, I've worked on racing games, worked with Kinect, worked on platformers, third-person shooters, but now to be at Rare and to craft a game like Sea of Thieves, this pirate fantasy, it's a dream come true for all of us on the team. But such a special time for us.
Want to remind folks at home, if you're joining us in the chat at mixer.com/Xbox, I've got it open here. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best to squeeze them in. I've got a whole bunch of questions here, though, to ask you. Now, we got a glimpse of the November update yesterday. Let's talk a little bit more about that, if you would, please.
Yeah, so the Seabound Soul is coming November 20th, so a new free update for Sea of Thieves. And I guess the headline feature initially is the tall tale called the Seabound Soul. So if you're a big player of Sea of Thieves, you're aware of Shipwreck Bay, that island that's been there since our early technical alphas, was there at launch, kind of iconic island. We're going to dive into the story of why that wreck is there, who is Captain Pendragon, and we're going to reveal some secrets in that tall tale. So it uses the Ghost Lantern, which was a favourite mechanic of our players from our first set of tall tales, Shores of Gold. Yeah. So there's a new tale to go enjoy, new things to go unlock by playing that tall tale, new secrets to uncover. And I guess the other big feature is fire. So big part of Sea of Thieves is a tools, not rules approach. Yeah. The idea of giving players mechanics and that enriching all of the gameplay that they're going to take part in. So fire is a new tool in the world. You can find it in barrels. You have it in the barrels already in Arena.
Right.
Ships can catch on fire. The best part is my favourite part. If you are to cook food in the game and you leave your chicken or your fish on the hob, leave it too long, it'll burn over and set fire to your ship. So
be careful.
When you're coming back from solving a treasure map and then you round the corner and you see your ship on fire, it's probably because someone's left some chicken on fire.
So fire can be used, obviously, to help you in your experience, but also can be perhaps to hurt someone else's.
Yeah, well, it's also the first throwable weapon type in the game. So it's the first throwable grenade in Sea of Thieves. So you can load them into the cannons, but you can also throw them. So that's kind of a new weapon type that we're keen to expand as well in the future.
I want to talk about that because when you're introducing these new elements into this game, which again the game launched was about 18 months ago.
Yeah, April.
It was
March 29th.
Right, and when you're trying to introduce a new component like that into the game, what is some of the testing you have to go through to say, hey, this is too powerful, or hey, maybe we shouldn't throw it?
I mean, that's a great question. And the thing about Sea of Thieves is always, I mean, at its heart, it's this multiplayer sandbox where we want players to create these stories. And the unique part of Sea of Thieves is that it's shared world. And we're giving players these mechanics, but we've said so many times before, we're not really sure how they're going to use those mechanics to their advantage. We constantly get surprised by how players use these mechanics. It's why our Insider program is so important, right?
Yeah, it's something we lean on regularly. Like, we deliver Insider builds twice a week, so we're constantly releasing Insider builds out there with sometimes very early preview features in, with that purpose in mind, to try and go, we don't know exactly how this balancing is going to work out, but we leave it with insiders and we listen to their feedback and we make changes and iterate, and we'll push some way and we'll push it a bit too far the other way. Yeah. And I'm sure insiders that have experienced fire have experienced a very aggressive fire and then a soft kind of fire. So it's like, we try and push and use that insider audience to really tell us how we're steering on a balance perspective.
And how do folks sign up for the Insider in case they're interested and they want to get in on that early?
So if they just go to seaofthieves.com/insider, you can sign up as long as you own the game or you've got the game on Game Pass.
Now, John, when you're dealing with creators like Dan, you're getting this feedback all the time. What's your process for taking all of the data and assembling it and bringing it back to the product team?
So very recently, we just launched the Creator Crew Partner Program. So we have the main Creator Crew there for some of the creators who are just getting started. And you can sign up at seaofthieves.com/Creator Crew. It's a little plug for that. But the main Partner Program that we have there has a massive Discord that we all chat in, and we get a lot of the feedback from partners who are not only taking it from themselves, but from the channels that they serve, because they have massive audiences who are also feeding back to them. So it's really handy for us to collate that feedback and also see, we knew that from the start, Sea of Thieves was going to be a game that was as fun to watch as it was to play. So it's really interesting for us to get the feedback from creators to say, like, what is the sort of thing that's going to engage yourself and your viewers. So that's been a really crucial part for us.
You mentioned the partner Discord. I actually get a lot of tips myself in there. You have it's just active all the time. You have people like, hey, I've been tucked on this fort for 2 hours now. I'm like, wow, like we have those kind of creators in there, because there's an entire variety of creators. And it's so interesting seeing all their strategies and all their other tips, and they're coming in and they're giving their feedback. I'm like, oh, I never even thought of it this way. And it's a really cool community.
Yeah.
Dan, I want to talk to you a little bit about, because you've been in the creator space for quite some time. I mean, I think you and I met when you were 13, right?
13 or 14.
13 or 14. I've known you for a long time. But what brought you to Sea of Thieves? Because I know you were big in the Halo space for a while. You play a lot of different games. What really gravitates you to Sea of Thieves?
So it was actually the very first trailer that they showed of it. I was instantly pulled in. I mean, it's Rare. It's really easy to be sold on Rare games. Rare's made amazing games throughout all of our childhoods, right? I think that unites all of us. Yeah, absolutely. And so seeing that first trailer and just seeing a few pirates just running around on a beach and digging, and that was enough for me right away. I saw that and I was like, I see where this is going, right? I know, like this, and it turns out exactly as was in my head, as was in my dreams, right? It was right there, and it came to reality.
Right, and then of course you guys are updating with these tall tales. And let's talk about what a tall tale is. I mean, what is this?
Yeah, well, right back when you saw that trailer, that core vision of players creating stories together. I mean, the game at its heart is this multiplayer sandbox. But we kind of like this idea of this grander vision. The Sea of Thieves world is rich enough to support different play styles. And the idea of a game that could give you different emotions, the shared world of Sea of Thieves serves up all these different emotions. We got really inspired by the idea of, what if we were to tell authored narrative stories in that shared world? The idea that you could give people the emotions that they traditionally feel in a solo game, a single-player game, but have it play out in this multiplayer shared world. And because of that fact, it would feel all the more richer because of it. Because you could be solving a love story, this kind of mystery, but you get attacked by the Kraken or you're sailing into a storm, and it makes all those moments even richer. Yeah. So the idea that we could tell these stories in Sea of Thieves and do the things that our players have always wanted, like the Indiana Jones temples and the traps and the tombs and the magical artifacts. We're always going to do all of that, but we love this potential to kind of tell a love story in Sea of Thieves, introduce all these enchanted items. What's been great about Tall Tales as well is some of that investment we made with those new mechanics in Tall Tales are now starting to surface in the rest of the game. So the collector's chest, this chest that you can open, really simple mechanic. Again, this tools not rules approach that if you find a chest, you can open it, you can put objects inside. We launched that with Tall Tales to introduce quest objects, but now they're being added to the riddles in the game. Yeah. And now you can find them emergently washed up and they've got treasure inside. So you'll start to see these Tall Tales mechanics, even though they're used to tell a narrative and a story, you'll see them start showing up in the rest of the sandbox. So the whole game is getting richer because of it.
Also want to remind folks, if you are an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, you already own this game. Go download it and check it out. You can have these adventures all by yourself. I mean, or with others as well. I mean, it's great to. You've got the opportunity to go out single as a solo.
Yeah.
Or you can have a crew of up to four.
You can play on the sloop, you can play on the brig, you can play on the galleon, you can do the tall tales, the Shores of Gold narrative, which is the closest kind of parallel to kind of air campaign, that classic pirate story to find the Shores of Gold.
Yeah.
But they're also just progressing with the trading companies and just experiencing the thrill of meeting other players in the world in conflicts, in cooperation. Yeah.
You know, Dan, you were talking a little bit about how when you saw that very first trailer, and Mike, I don't know if you were working on the project at the time, but I remember when Rare came over to Microsoft, a few years ago, and I played the very first build, which I'm sure you remember was wireframe.
The prototype.
Right, it was a very, very early prototype, and the fun was you could see the fun immediately. So to see that it translated forward to the trailer and obviously to the gameplay is extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of how we work at Rare, which is trying to find the fun as soon as possible. It's like, yes, the world building is critical. Yes, beautiful graphics are important to immerse players in that world. But finding that core mechanical fun is where we always start. And I think that's what's paid dividend with Sea of Thieves, that charm and that magic and how the mechanics interact. That was there alive and well in that early prototype. And then it was just, how do we bring this to a broad audience? How do we make it work in a network environment? How do we make it look the most beautiful game it can possibly be?
Yeah.
It's been
well, we can all talk about the water. I mean, everybody goes on and on about the water in Sea of Thieves. You have to check this out. I mean, it's unbelievable.
But I have to give props to the engineering team. The water, the sky, all of that stuff is beautiful. Yeah. But honestly, the fire that launches on November 20th, it is gorgeous.
Really?
And it's how dynamic it is as well. The fact that it spreads across your ship, the fact that it will be put out when you sail into the rain of a storm. It's this dynamic element to the game.
The rain.
It's going to be everywhere in the experience now.
Yeah.
You could find firebombs and go do a bounty, and then you've got another tool that you can use.
Right.
You know that players could have that tool and be using it against you, so you can go downstairs and use the water barrel, fill it full of buckets and chuck water on yourself to put yourself out when you're on fire. Like, it's just a new way of interacting with the game. It's a new role for the crew.
And if you're running out of food as well, if you're running out of food and you have to pick up a firebomb on an island, you can just see a chicken and get yourself some cooked chicken back as well.
Chicken, yeah.
But you brought up something really interesting, is that when you introduce a new element into the game, you really have to think holistically about all the other components and how they interact. It's a very delicate ecosystem.
It is.
Because players are used to doing things in the real world, and you want to make sure that you can do similar things. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I think even when we've done double XP weekends, or we've done where special voyages that give players more loot, that increases the opportunities for everyone. The fact that all this loot is flowing through the world, or we're biasing towards certain trading companies, that changes that equilibrium. That's why, we've kind of got this privileged position of the creator crew and the insiders taking that feedback. That is critical, because it's great to be open with our community anyway, but the fact that we're building this shared world, it makes that player feedback so critical to what we do.
Now, I had a question here in the chat. Somebody wanted to know, if you're new to the game, if you just downloaded it on Game Pass, are you at a disadvantage?
Not at all. Not at all.
I'd like to comment on that. I think it's interesting, because I mentioned before that it's finding that instant fun, and Sea of Thieves just excels at that, right? You're standing on a beach right away, and Game Pass gives the opportunity to invite someone else in, and because Sea of Thieves is just better with friends. And I can't tell you the amount of friends I brought in and say, hey, we need a third right now. Like, you have Game Pass, right? Like come join us. And there's even fun in teaching them and then showing them the ropes. And be like, oh, no, we'll go through the easy stuff again with you. Like, I'm still having fun because everyone is always on that same level playing field, right?
Yeah.
No one has any stronger weapons or anything. Like, someone could come in and just be inherently a better player than you right away. They got to learn the ropes of like the intricacies here and there. Yeah. But that's where the fun comes from, as being a more veteran player saying, check this out, right? Like, look at this little thing I can show you.
And we find that a lot from our community, who, like, especially a lot of the legends out there who go out there and just to help people. They go out there and set up Discord servers to help start new players, or there's clubs on Xbox. There's all these things where people can join in and learn the ropes, essentially, with legends.
Yeah, it's interesting, Dan, because you brought something up. You talked about helping other players, and you and I are friends on Xbox. I see you streaming. I've even dropped into some of your chats, right? Because I see you streaming all the time. And you're absolutely right. You're always you're always kind of just puttering around in the world, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just finding something new, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, well, that's the joy of Sea of Thieves to me, is that with all these new additions, that just becomes more and more common, right? There's more items in the world, there's more things to do, and one quest turns into another, it turns into another, it turns into a 10-hour-long chase with another thing. We're like, no, it's no longer about the gold, now it's the glory, right? And it's like, abandon everything we're doing, right? And it's just, you absolutely get lost in the world.
Yeah, and it's lovely because, I mean, we've got, if you're on Game Pass, you get it on PC, it's got cross-play to Xbox. I've been playing it on xCloud. That's got to be fantastic.
Very excited about xCloud. I mean, I think
little shout out.
there we go. I think on the Sea of Thieves team, we're so excited about it. But that idea of the magic of Sea of Thieves is being with your crew, having these adventures. The fact that you can have someone literally playing on their phone or playing on their tablet while someone's got an Xbox or a PC in the same room. It allows more people to experience that core kind of cooperative gameplay of being on a crew. So it's really exciting. It's just a natural fit for Sea of Thieves. It's great.
I mean, we may have some new folks who are look for the crew that succeeded. What's going on in this trailer, by the way? What are we looking at here?
This is the arena.
Okay. The arena. Let's talk about the arena for a minute, because we've been talking about this cooperative mode and whatnot. And let's talk about the real hardcore PvP.
Yeah, so for anniversary, April 30th this year, we released that big content update that included Tall Tales that we've talked about, but it also included the arena. So the idea there was to put a real lens on that core gameplay of the crew working together on the galleon, but then make it bite-sized, make it a 24-minute session, so you can have all that fun and that excitement in 24 minutes condensed, and you can have it anytime you want on demand. The good thing about Arena, and the same applies to Tall Tales, is they're platforms for us.
Yeah.
They're platforms for us to continue enriching the game and adding new content. Arena has just started that journey this year. We've had a lot of feedback, the whole point about Insiders, about the balance of what you'd call PvP versus PvE. Is the game mode exciting enough? Can we add more weapon types and more variety there? So Arena, as we continue, is going to get richer. It's going to expand, and hopefully it's going to bring in more players and continue to be, the start of someone's Sea of Thieves journey. It's a great way to come in on Game Pass, experience the fun of Sea of Thieves, ship battle, what's different about the mechanics, and hopefully you'll stick around to see all the rest of the content there as well.
Going through the chat here at mixer.com/Xbox. If you're just tuning in, you can drop your questions in the chat, and I'll see if I can pull them out. There's a request, and I don't know how I feel about this. They want to, when you put your pig on fire, to turn it into bacon.
Say again.
They want to when you put your pig on the fire, it turns into bacon.
I can confirm that will be there November 20th.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so feature requested, feature delivered.
There you go.
If only it was that easy.
But let your conscience be your guide on that one.
Now, Mike, you're the design director, and Drew, you're the senior producer. Tell us about how you guys work together.
I'm going to let Drew answer that.
We work pretty closely together, but every team on Sea of Thieves is kind of a mix of an engineering focus, a design focus, and a production focus. And it's that team mechanic, that kind of build-up that helps us deliver things that we push on design sometimes, and we push on the artistic kind of style, and then we also deliver things in an efficient way. And it's like, I think me and Mike work quite closely to try and think like players. Everything that we pull together, that we kind of concept, is for our players. And then when we pass it down to those teams, those cross-discipline groups try and pull together and kind of realize the real player value, but try and deliver that as fast as possible and try and pull it through. So it's the production, design, and engineering kind of team working together.
That's the day-to-day, but I guess we also spend a lot of time thinking of the next 6 months, the next year, the next multiple years of Sea of Thieves, and our strategy for how we want to grow this experience, whether it be Tall Tales or Arena or just that core adventure experience. How do you want to evolve on that Sea of Thieves vision? We have a lot of exciting conversations about where we're going to take this game.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out is that the adventure that you're offered by Sea of Thieves is also an adventure for you guys, the development team, right? And the community, because you're kind of going in that direction, but you don't know how you're going to get there and exactly where you're going to land. But with the feedback from the community, and Dan, you've probably given some feature requests, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah. Maybe. I try my stuff. I'd love to ask a question of you guys if I could, because I know this is a thing. How often are you guys switching up? Say you have a feature that's like, oh, this is going to be a month out, so we're going to work on next month, but the community decides that's no longer important. How often are you switching that?
That definitely happens. I wouldn't say it's on a month-by-month basis, but I think because we have that kind of 6-month view out, you can start to see where the kind of core of the sentiment from our players is, whether it's they want more cosmetics, they want more rewards, they want more goals, or they want more tools in the world. So even though we've got kind of a broad stroke plan for where we're taking the game super long term, you're not really saying we're never going to do those things anymore. You're just kind of shuffling things around. So some things move forward and some things move back.
Yeah.
But again, it's a privileged position because, as we all know, you launch games and then, traditionally in the past you'd walk away and it's finished, that you put a bow on it and you never get to work on it again. And you always carry that regret of, I wish we'd done that, I wish we hadn't done that. We get to be agile, we get to be nimble, we get to listen to what our community wants, and we can still keep building and evolving on this game. And it's such a rich world. We can it can support all these different kind of play types and mechanics and ideas.
It's not just the big stuff as well. It's common that we'll come in after the weekend and we'll be talking and we're going, yeah, I know we're not going to shift these big features around, but we should tweak that.
Yeah.
We should change that. We should go and add that. And that's from player feedback, that's from creator feedback, but that's also from Insider Program. There's that kind of regular Monday buzz. We've released the Insider build out over the weekend, and we've sat and thought about it, and then we've come in and we're like, cool, what are we going to change? And we're releasing monthly, so it gives us some iteration and some flex to be able to make some changes pretty quickly. But then it's kind of shifting that kind of longer roadmap as to how we go and make changes the next 2 months, 3 months onwards.
I think honestly that's why that monthly release structure that we've moved to now, that on the team for us, I think we all kind of agree it feels like the right kind of rhythm for us where we're releasing it, because we are having those conversations, we are balancing the game constantly. It gives us that monthly opportunity to speak to our players, to release the latest cut of the game every month. So rather than going dark, it's nice to kind of have that release every month with new features in there, but also that latest kind of balance and bug fixing.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the recent updates with, for instance, pets.
Yeah.
Pets. I know that was a highly requested feature right from day one.
Yep.
People wanted their pets. When did you ship that? You shipped that in
That was
September.
September. So very
it was
recently.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the data from pets, because this is actually really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's gone down so well. I mean, we wanted
Who do we see here?
Oh, look at this. Oh, that's so cool.
What are some of the pets you can get if people don't know?
Yeah, well, there's three breeds of monkeys and there's 3 breeds of parrots, and then there's customization within that, so you can buy outfits. We released the Halloween pets on screen now, as you can see. That was the cockatoo and the marmosettes for Halloween. They were the kind of specials. But we always wanted to go beyond them just being a cosmetic in the game.
Yeah.
In fact, they could be a tool for humour. They kind of enrich your adventures out there because you feel like you're sharing them with this sidekick.
Right.
And we felt really good about what they could bring to the game, that richness and that humour, and they performed really well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the players that have engaged with their Pirate Emporium, I think 98% of players that have interacted with their Pirate Emporium have purchased a pet. They've gone down so well, and feedback's been great, right?
Just looking across social, across when we released the September update, to see people have said taking selfies with their pets. It was just a sea of these pet selfies coming back in. But it's awesome to see how they become a companion to you and your crew, and they kind of you have shared stories, but now you have a shared story with a pet involved as well, and it's what your pet did while you were fighting the Kraken, and they become part of your crew.
Yeah. Monkey sidekick. What could be better than that?
And you had, I know, Dan, you got a monkey, right, or bird?
No, I have a parakeet. Yeah, because I liked how he danced.
And we were chatting backstage because I asked you, Mike. I said, "Hey, what are some of the most popular names?" And you were disappointed because you named your bird.
Yeah, well, it's funny because one of my pirate friends who I play with very often, he didn't like my bird's name. I'm like, I'm going to name my bird Bob. It's a good name because he bobs. It's hilarious. It's funny. It's like, it's a bad name. It's a bad name.
Right.
No one would pick that name.
Right.
And sure enough, it comes out that it's the 10th most popular pet name was Bob. So on one hand, I'm like, ha! It's a popular pet name. On the other hand, I don't feel very unique at all because everyone in the world is a Bob.
What are some of the other popular pet names, Mike?
So the
you can
number
recall?
1 was Jack.
Right.
So think of that context of the monkey. That's Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously.
Sure.
Number 2 was Rafiki. So
Right.
Lion King
Lion King.
fans.
Okay.
What else?
I think George the monkey was in there as well.
George. Number
Of course.
10 was Bob. Just Bob.
Just Bob.
Just Bob. Yeah. Don't get that one.
What about the birds? Was that birds and monkeys combined?
That was them combined,
That was
yeah.
them
What's some of the
combined.
birds we had in there?
I think Polly was pretty popular.
Luna,
Luna
Luna was in there. Blue. Just cool names.
That's awesome stuff. That's awesome stuff. I want to talk about the ships. We also a lot of ship customization as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Talk
that.
about the ship stuff?
Yeah, so as part of the release of the Pirate Emporium, we opened up with the Banjo ship. So players could get a ship themed with the Banjo-Kazooie kind of theme. There you go.
There it is.
People love banjo.
People definitely love Banjo. So we followed that then with October's update with the Killer Instinct ship as well. So a quite combative, kind of aggressive-looking ship with Killer Instinct. And then we're looking forward as part of next week to release the Perfect Dark ship as well. So reaching back into the Rare back catalogue and trying to pull through those new heritage IPs. So
We put a lot of work into these, right? It's quite a tricky thing to bring another IP into Sea of Thieves, but do it in a way that's graceful and
For both parties.
For both, of course. I mean, you want to capture the core essence of what that IP is.
Yeah.
But what you don't want to do is do anything in Sea of Thieves that's immersion breaking. You know, it's a big thing for us, the fact that you can role play in this world and be immersed and not have anything kind of break that experience. So it's down to the materials, the way it glows, how it's crafted, how rustic it feels, trying to be really graceful in how we recognise that art style in Sea of Thieves. We put a lot of time into that, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things you do. And I also want to point out some of the customization you just talked about.
Yeah.
Some of them are temporary, but some of them are also permanent, right?
Yes.
So if you're hearing this and you're watching it now and you've got Game Pass, you want to download it, you'll still have access to some of these.
Yes.
They won't go away. There's so much going on here. It's great to see that. Let's talk about the roadmap ahead if we could. Because, I mean, there's so much going on in the Sea of Thieves world, but I know you guys are hard at work on the future.
Yeah, we are. I think first thing to mention is that we've already got some great content in the game, but I think making the content we have more discoverable and more accessible is the important thing for us. So making sure people can come in through Game Pass or purchase the game and have that great Sea of Thieves experience that really sells them on this vision of what it's like to be in this world. Like, that right now is it's at the mercy of that shared world. So we want to do a better job of bringing people into the experience. But like long term, the idea of evolving that vision, and for us it comes down to probably two things, which is how can we move past this idea where every ship is just a mystery? And that's key to Sea of Thieves, the fact that you can come across a ship out there on the water and you don't know who they are, whether they mean you harm, whether they mean you well. And every ship is like that right now. But what if you could choose to declare your motivation and progress faster to get unique rewards? So the idea of, could you role play as a gold hoarder and have a treasure ship? Could you role play as a merchant? Could you role play as a bounty hunter from the Order of Souls? And having this interplay of factions between the world.
You have a little bit of that now because you can set up an alliance.
Yeah.
And where it's just and why don't you explain alliances for people that don't know?
Yeah, so that's a feature where you can come across anyone in the world and you can choose to raise an alliance flag. And if that other player raised the alliance flag at the same time, you get to share the rewards. So we don't kind of force it to happen, but you get these fantastic stories where like the entire world is filled with people in an alliance and they're just sailing around the world together in a fleet. And that's something we're really keen to build on in the future. The idea that if you were role-playing as a merchant, you see another merchant ship, even though you've never met that person before, you've got that shared commonality.
Yeah.
It's kind of like bumping into someone in the record store and they're wearing the same band T-shirt as you, and you're just like, yeah, I respect you. I don't know you, but I respect you.
Now,
something deep there.
Now, I must point out that that Dan, you've played a lot, and we'll talk about that, but this is my tip, is that become an alliance, because there's nothing better when you're out on the high seas with your friends, you've hoisted the flag and you become an alliance, and then you're just kind of going along and you're getting gold into the hopper. You see gold pop up, right, Dan? It's great.
Absolutely.
What are some of your tips for some folks that are just beginning, or maybe some advanced?
You got to always be on your toes. That's my first tip. Like, especially for new players, is look, at the end of the day, this is a pirate game. You've got to be careful. Even if you're in that alliance, at any point, that might no longer be an alliance, right? So you always got to be on your toes. But absolutely, you're right. Like, I mean, when you get those servers, we actually call on people. We have like a Discord server of our own where we have just a bunch of people who say, guys, you guys got to come on. Like, we need some other players in here because there are so many ships in here and we're just racking in the gold. And we'll swap out. Like, I'm going to bed. You guys want to come take over our ship? And we'll switch out because they will continue racking in the gold and this server will just last forever.
Right.
And it's really just use that horn. You have a horn that amplifies your voice.
Right.
That came actually one of the first major updates. Was pretty cool. And that people forget about that.
But it's not called a horn. It's called the
speaking trumpet.
The speaking trumpet.
Yeah.
So.
Get on
just to keep everything in world.
So do you play in alliances quite a lot, or are you a lone wolf?
Oh, no, yeah. I essentially never play alone. I'm always with my teammates. I always have friends because I'm also very much, we call it the cutthroat. I'm the cutthroat. So I'm the one who jumps off the ship
Nice.
and I will let the ship sink. I will forget about it. And so now I'm very afraid of fire. And you said the cooking thing. I know I'm going to burn down so many ships. It's like, they're like, I'll come back to this in 2 minutes to cook this meat, right? Fine. I will not remember that. Like, it is done. So if no one's taking care of the boat and I'm out slaying people and I could be just killing the whole world, my boat will probably no longer exist. So,
Now, Dan, I have to ask you: are you the player who just jumps right up onto the wheel and just takes control?
Yes and no. It depends. If I get frustrated with my team, I will definitely take control. I usually have some form of direction there, but I usually increasingly like to be just the slayer. I'm the guy who likes to hop on board others, and they call me the diplomat because I'm the one that I get on that. We give them offers they can't refuse. I say essentially become our friends or we will kill you.
Right.
We will sink your ship, or you can be a friend.
Aggressive.
It could be a prosperous sea, or we can sink you, and that usually works. Yeah.
Because I've played one of the persons I play regularly with. He generally becomes, he's just assumed to be captain.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he's quite good at it. He's actually spent a lot of time out on the ocean. So it's interesting to have that dynamic of, he's the captain, and I usually do the sails, and
especially in arena.
Right.
It's something that it's interesting talking to people who are hardcore gamers in general. Who are playing competitively and stuff. I say you guys seriously need to try out this arena thing because you do have these roles. If you don't have a person down below repairing all the time, you're probably going to sink. If you don't have a dedicated captain, you're going to get nowhere. If you don't have dedicated people going and digging, you all need to know where each other player is at all times. It's actually quite complex and role based.
Now we have a little bit of an issue. I'm looking at the chat, and the chat on Mixer.com/Xbox claims you need a better mustache to be a little more dastardly. So I'm just merely pointing that out.
Noted.
Well, there's a lot going on, and again, people, if you're on Game Pass, you should go ahead and download it and try it out, and just kind of jump in and kind of figure it out. And you can also, what's the best way to join the community outside of the game?
I would encourage everyone to sign up and be an insider.
Yeah.
I mean, providing you don't want to have too many spoilers and see content before it's ready, but join insiders. And if you don't want to join insiders, join our Sea of Thieves community on our forums.
Yep.
Sign up there and start that conversation.
Right. But you've got the forums are very active, and I know you're doing a lot of work on the forums, aren't you?
Yeah, there's great communities all across the globe, actually. Amazing French communities out there at the moment who are doing stuff. We've got Discord communities out there that are really strong.
Right.
And I would say, jump into, I know there's a lot of good Facebook communities I'm in at the moment, and Twitter, Twitter in general is amazing. And we also have, alongside with the arena, stuff with Sea of Champions going on at the moment.
That's amazing.
Community-run event based in the arena, and they're really taking off at the moment with the next sign-up for their community event there. So get on Twitter and onto their site for that one.
Well, I was going to shout out Twitter as well because you'll regularly call out and say, "Hey, show us a picture of your pirate or of your pet," and you'll get hundreds of replies, and it's surprising. It feels like for such this massive Twitter community, how incredibly friendly it is. The amount of people I've followed and I've got follows back from that are just posting pictures of their pirate and just proud to be Sea of Thieves players.
Yep.
It's so easy to make friends in Sea of Thieves. It brings me back to 10 years ago, more playing games again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of discussion on our forums, but really our communities everywhere. I mean, we've got such an incredible community. I mean, that you mentioned it there, but Sea of Champions, Race of Legends, the fishing tournaments, the fact that our players are organising and having these little events and these little contests. Been so inspired by that, and that's something that we want to empower more in the future.
We talked a lot about a lot of the work you do with other IPs and bringing them into the game, but you've also done a lot of work outside of the game, bringing Sea of Thieves into other things. What would you like to talk about regarding that?
Oh yeah, so obviously expanded universe is kind of a big deal, and we've got our novel, and we've got our comic book. So one of the things I want to announce today is that we're going to be making available the Sea of Thieves Origins comics. So these
see
are
on screen right here.
A new comic book series. Beautiful artwork, absolutely some gorgeous panels in there. The writing's fantastic, but it dives into the backstory of trading companies. So you can see what it's like to join the gold hoarders. You see a little bit of Shores of Gold in there as well. The merchants, where did the merchants come from? What was their life like outside of the Sea of Thieves before they came to this world?
Yeah.
What's the motivation of the Order of Soul? So if you're a fan of the game or you just started, it's a great way to kind of learn some of that lore. But the giveaway that we've got today, a really kind of special announcement, is that if you go to Comixology, there's some codes that we'll be sharing on our social channels.
Okay.
So if you go and input those codes and redeem them on Comixology,
There's one right there.
everyone will get access
Yeah.
to a digital version of these comics.
It's on screen right now, and for those of you who need a little help, I'll read it out to you. It's SOTGOL, SOT_GMU, and SOT_SEER.
It's a really kind of interesting kind of behind-the-scenes look at the motivations of some of the characters in the world. It's once you read those comics, it's impossible to look at those characters in the same way again. You learn so much more about the world. So if you're a fan of Sea of Thieves, you've got to check that out. It's awesome.
That's great news. Now, you guys also have another event that you're running from here to go to. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the Battle for London.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've also run the battle for LA at E3.
Yep.
And then we had the battle for Orlando at Guardian Con. And today we are bringing the battle for London to the Microsoft store over in Regent Street.
Yep.
So this time is a little bit different in that we're doing dual sloops rather than galleons. So the qualifiers are finished now, but we will be, we'll be going live with that. The final of that at 6 p.m. GMT,
Right.
Till 8 p.m. So do tune in for that at
A
mixer.com.
little bit under 2 hours from now is when it's going to start.
Yeah.
Where can they watch this if they want to?
Mixer.com/Sea of Thieves.
And what are the Battle for events? How would you explain them?
So the very first one we had was definitely focused around creators,
Yeah.
and it was an invitational. But then the second one we did at Guardian Con was a bit of both. So we had one crew that was essentially our rare crew, but we then had kind of publicly just qualifiers that were in there, so people could just drop in, play a game, then work through to the semi-finals, and then eventually into the live final.
Yeah.
And it works kind of the same today at the Microsoft store. So we have people have been qualifying yesterday and today, so they are now going to be in the final tonight.
Yeah.
For a gold-plated Xbox.
For a gold plate.
Is it gold? Oh, it's
Gold and
It's gold.
silver.
It's gold and silver.
Gold
so
and-
first
yeah.
place get gold-plated Xbox and controller, and runner-up is silver, which is beautiful.
Yes.
That's phenomenal.
Very
So they're
nice.
pretty exclusive.
We need to take a picture of those. Well, this has been a great time. I really appreciate you guys coming out. I know you had this other event, so trying to squeeze us in as you run to another event is great. It's great to hear all of the stuff you guys have been up to. You got any final words before we let folks go?
Just want to have a big shout out to our community. Like, it's an absolute pleasure coming to events like this and meeting fans of the game. Like, we met so many cool people last night for
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
time, saw some familiar faces as well. It's just, we're so lucky to have the community that we have. So thank you. We've got some exciting stuff coming in the future.
Mike, Drew, John, Dan, thank you for guys for joining us. Guys, have any questions? You want to hit these folks up on where do they find you on Twitter? Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves.
Very
there you
simple.
go.
That. All right.
There you go.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll have some more panels later on, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you liked what you saw, then there's a wealth of content already on our channel and there's lots more to come, so subscribe and click that little ship's bell for all those notifications. Cheers.